Why your fundraising plan is actually killing your revenue. Your fundraising plan is probably hurting your revenue right now. Not because you're bad at your job, not because your donors are tired, and not because the economy's tough. It's because you built it backwards. And that single mistake is quietly suppressing your growth. If you're a nonprofit leader watching your fundraising team work harder every year while revenue stays flat or even declines, this video is going to change everything. If you don't know me, my name is Gretchen Villegas. I've raised over 75 million for global development. I've managed 320 million across 30 plus countries. And what surprises people most is that I started my career living in a 600-person village along the Amazon with no roads, no electricity, and no running water. And that's where I learned what real development is all about. It's about being the bridge to resources communities actually need. Today, I'm going to show you the fatal flaw in most fundraising plans. I'm going to reveal why your network matters way less than you think. And I'm going to walk you through the strategic shift that helped one organization triple their revenue in 24 months. Here's what's happening inside many nonprofits right now. Teams review last year's revenue. They add a modest growth percentage, maybe 5%, maybe 10, and they list tactics, events, appeals, grants, major gifts. They assign dollar targets to each one, and then they call it a plan. This feels responsible, it's measurable, it's easy to defend in a board meeting, but it's strategically thin. And over time, it limits revenue instead of actually unlocking it. Here's the core problem most organizations never notice. Fundraising plans are often built around scarcity assumptions instead of mission requirements. Every year, teams ask, what do we think we can realistically raise? Instead of, what outcomes must we deliver this year to fulfill our mission? That single question shift changes everything. Hey, this is Gretchen. If you liked what you heard today and you would like to learn more about building resilient financial organizations, you can find more value in the description below by clicking on the Nexus Impact Spotlight. There's lots of information that you can use and actually apply yourself today. And when you start with what you think you can raise, your goals shrink. When goals shrink, your asks shrink. And when asks are modest, urgency fades. So without urgency, donor engagement weakens. You end up working harder than ever. Your team's exhausted. Activity increases, but revenue plateaus and slowly declines. And leadership blames external factors, of course. The deeper the issue is this: you've trained the organization to optimize for survival, not growth. Many donors maintain the status quo. They respond to the movement. They respond to coincidence about what's going on. They're over-conservative in their planning, and it often makes growth less likely. I worked with a mid-size nonprofit that had been flat for 5 years. Strong donor list, dedicated team, completely exhausted team. Every year looked the same. Incremental targets, same tactics, slightly different numbers. When I reviewed their plan, I asked one question: what must be true for this organization to win this year? No one had an answer. They had only asked what they could afford to attempt. So we rebuilt the process from the ground up. We started with a single measurable impact outcome. We priced that outcome honestly, even though it required a much larger budget. Then we rebuilt the revenue strategy around confidence and inevitably, not need. We also eliminated legacy fundraising activities that were draining energy from the team. Within the first year, key revenue streams accelerated. By month 24, the revenue had tripled. There's fewer donors, larger commitments, shorter decision cycles, and nothing really magically changed. It was just alignment. This part makes people uncomfortable. Your network matters less than you've been told. Relationships are important, but they're not the engine. A large network cannot compensate for a vague strategy. What donors respond to is confidence, clarity, and direction. They don't ask how many people you know. They ask, often silently, whether leadership knows where this is going, whether the plan feels inevitable, whether the organization is actually in control. When strategy's clear, donors opt into larger commitments. Conversations move faster, you get trust, your network stops being the driver and actually starts amplifying. I've seen organizations that have relatively small networks really grow themselves. And I've seen organizations with massive lists struggle because their direction wasn't clear. Strategy first, network second. Before you pitch a single donor, your revenue plan must answer 3 questions. If it can't, it's not a plan. It's a to-do list. Question 1, what must be true for this organization to win this year? Not what you hope happens, not what must happen. This defines focused and removes noise. Question 2, what revenue must be predictable versus flexible? Events behave differently than grants. Grants behave differently than major gifts. Earned revenue behaves differently than philanthropy. Treating all revenue as equal creates fragility. You need to know what you can count on and what's upside down. What will we stop doing? That actually matters. Growth requires subtraction. We need more events, more appeals, more pressure. Very few stop anything. You have to stop doing things so you can start doing other activities. Here's the difference between how most organizations plan and how high performers plan. The traditional sequence looks like this. Money leads to activities. Activities lead to programs. Programs lead to impact. High-performing organizations reverse it. Impact leads to programs. Programs lead to activities. Activities lead to revenue. This isn't philosophical, it's structural. When impact leads, then you get clarity. Fundraising stops being a department and becomes an organizational function. Donors stop feeling like they're just enlisted, but they actually become partners, not transactions. And here's how you actually do this. Step 1, define non-negotiable impact. Who must be served? What must change? What failure would look like? This defines the true cost of the mission. Step 2, price the impact honestly. Many organizations underprice their work because of fear of rejection, fear of ambition, fear shaped by years of underfunding. Underpricing impact almost guarantees underfunding it. Step 3, design revenue to serve strategy. Only now do you decide the funding mix, what must be predictable, what must be flexible. This creates intentional revenue architecture instead of just guessing. And here's the part that's hardest to hear. Many fundraisers and fundraising problems aren't fundraising problems at all. They're leadership and strategy gaps showing up as revenue symptoms. Better tactics won't fit it. More hustle won't fix it. Bigger fixes won't fix it. Courage is the price of honesty, and leadership has to be willing to think beyond survival. You have to stop being chased, and you have to start aligning yourself. If your fundraising plan feels heavier every year without producing better results, that's a signal. Start by asking, what must be true for your organization to win this year? Price that outcome honestly, then build revenue to serve that strategy, not the other way around. Here's the catch. Even with a strong strategy, you still have to communicate it. And most fundraisers are using pitch frameworks donors have heard hundreds of times. They sound like need, they trigger caution, they don't talk about partnership. So in the next video, we're gonna talk about a partnership framework. It's the difference between one-time gifts and long-term partners. Let's watch that next.